Greetings, Earthlings. Welcome to Nature Obscura, a podcast where nature and the supernatural collide. I'm Marissa.
And I'm Grace. Each week, we share spooky happenings from the great outdoors, from cryptids to curses, ghosts to witches, and everything in between.
Now, while we love a haunted house or a scary hospital story, that's not what we're here for. We're taking you around the globe to explore where nature and the supernatural intersect.
Marissa, do you have any spooky or naturey stories for us this week?
I have spooky news, a spooky in the news situation, and it actually relates to the type of episode we're doing today. Did you hear about the outbreak of Bigfoot sightings in Northeast Ohio?
No, I didn't.
It's what made such big news over the weekend that it was on just like the random popular radio stations in Michigan. We are doing a different themed episode than normal. We are going to be doing Bigfoot encounters. Maybe who has the craziest Bigfoot encounter story? I just thought it was funny that the weekend before we choose to do a Bigfoot themed episode, we get 6 reported Bigfoot sightings in Northeast Ohio within 4 days. It's becoming huge in the cryptozoology world, and it's called a flap, apparently. A flap is when there's multiple cryptid sightings within a short time period. So the sightings have occurred between March 6th through 10th, and apparently Bigfoot is on the move. Unfortunately, not towards Michigan, but towards southern Ohio. There's multiple different witness accounts and several reportings of seeing a brown to black 8-foot tall figure with footprints that are very large in size and a creature that I guess he's grunting deeply, which maybe he can stay in Ohio. I'm not interested in that.
He's
and apparently,
moving south because it got cold again.
right, exactly. And apparently he has a heavy, musky odor.
You know, all of these things are very common in all of the stories I have.
Really? There you go.
Yeah.
Then it has to be Bigfoot, right?
Yeah. What other explanation? That's crazy that there's been an influx right when we're about to do this episode.
It's weird because last week was it last week? Was the tornadoes?
Yes.
When we had the tornado,
Oh my God.
watches in other areas of Michigan. And then now this week with a Bigfoot. I'm
My
scared. Are we
gosh.
like psychic
Marissa,
or something?
What do you have in store for next week?
I don't know. I'm scared. I think it's, oh gosh. I think it's a cryptid, but it's like a demon cryptid. Oh no.
No! What are you doing to us?
I'm scared. So, did you have any spooky earthy encounters this week, or what have you been up to?
I really haven't had any spooky encounters, thankfully. Taking a break on the spookiness and scariness is okay from time to time, but I am starting to get super excited about spring. We had a few warm days, and now it's cold again. It was like 17 degrees or something stupid today. Last weekend, I saw so many birds in my yard. All right, ready?
Yes.
Okay. Saw 25 robins, 2 nuthatches, 1 black-capped chickadee, 1 red-winged blackbird, 2 crows, a flock of blue jays, and 2 squirrels, all in my yard. I was so
That's
excited.
fantastic. I love all the robins that you saw. I'm so excited to see them back in town.
I know. It's so nice to see them. They were just moving their way across the yard, and I'm really excited to see what birds I have in my yard this spring. And there's actually a few nest boxes set up around our property, so I'm really excited to see what we'll get in those.
That's really cool. Are you gonna monitor and remove other species' nest, or are you gonna just let them do their thing?
I'm definitely going to monitor. I'm really excited. I am part of the Michigan Bluebird Society, and everyone's always talking about their bluebirds, and I hope one day maybe I could get a bluebird nest.
Yeah, that'd be so cool.
But other than seeing birds, the only spookiness I've had in my life is looking up these Bigfoot stories, which I loved, by the way. And I don't know about you, how you chose your stories, but I looked at places that I'd been.
Nice. I like
Yeah.
that. Yeah, I had did a little differently. So I don't think we'll have overlap. It'd be crazy if we end up picking the same stories. But for this week, we're instead of going to a specific place, we are kind of going all over and talking about Bigfoot encounters that we got online. So the ones I got are from the BRFO, which is the Bigfoot Field Research Organization. I feel like it's as scientific as it could be. It kind of has like a geographical index, a map of all the sightings. It has the year, season, month. It even verifies and follows up with the people that submit the reports, and then they rank them different classes on how credible or how likely it is that was a Bigfoot.
Yeah,
Pretty
I
neat.
only used Class A for mine. Did you use any Class Bs?
It looks like I do have a class B for my first one, but I think the rest are class A's.
And it was so interesting how they did that and how the people would follow up and they would kind of give their own detailed reportings or like extra details that they didn't add in the story. And these people are like talking on the phone. This is legit.
Right, and I also, like, at least for my encounters, they were all older. I think I have one even in the '70s, and, I don't know, it's just something like, okay, if you're saying this happened for that many years,
And it stuck with you.
yeah, there's something to that, right?
Mhm.
Do you wanna get started, or would you like me?
Sure, I'll go. I'll go first. Our first sighting is actually the county in which I grew up in Illinois, so I was super excited to do the research. I never knew there was a Bigfoot sighting in this county. It kind of makes me a little bit more scared to go hiking, hearing all these stories. But this happened in June of 1973, overlooking the rural expanse of Randolph County, Illinois. And this sighting occurred on a remote bluff that changed the way one witness viewed the Illinois wilderness forever. The sighting is reported as followed. I have never told anyone this, except my husband, for fear of ridicule. This happened in southern Illinois, outside of the small rural community of Prairie du Rocher. At the time of this incident, we had horses, which we were keeping at a farm up on top of the bluff on 17 acres of fenced pasture surrounded by woodland and cornfields. The land had a pond and several sinkholes. I had come up in the late afternoon to the farm to feed and check on my two horses, and I planned to camp between the house and the sinkhole to spend the night. I had my German Shepherd dog with me. I built my fire and put bacon on to fry, and I made a small pot of coffee. As the bacon was starting to sizzle inside my skillet, I heard an odd grunt come from inside the sinkhole area. My dog was always ready to chase deer or any other animal away, but all he did at this time was stand close to me, and then he started to violently shake. I stood up and stared at the trees in the sinkhole. It was nearly dark by this time, and the sound came again, but this time it was very, very loud screech, almost a scream. So close, I instinctively held my ears. Then, the trees began to violently shake back and forth, accompanied with more of the grunting, screeching, high and low growls.
Good God, what are they doing?
I know! And when I'm researching these stories, I'm always trying to think of, like, what could it really be, you know? Like, a bobcat maybe screaming, like a coyote making weird
Do
sounds.
bears grunt, right? But the
Bears
grunting to
grunt.
screeching?
Right, bears don't screech.
Right,
And
that's
also,
so strange.
I'm pretty sure even in the 70s there weren't bears in southern Illinois, but I haven't actually done that research, so I don't know for sure. But I will look that up later. But yeah, so this one is very interesting. They said that it was as if someone or something had grabbed the trees in anger and was shaking them very hard and rapidly, multiple at a time. They think it was to frighten them off. Everything fell silent. The horses had come out of the barn and they stopped eating and were now staring at the sinkhole. This person goes on to say, I heard them stomp and snort before they turned and ran off at a fast gallop, as if startled by a massive predator. Then the trees stopped moving. There was a faint, odd smell in the air that didn't last long, and I did not recognize it. The trees started to shake again, and the thing that got me was that this time many of them were being shaken very hard, nearly collapsing. I can tell you that the fear I felt then was unbelievable, and it finally got me into action. I doused the fire and threw the hot skillet with the bacon still sizzling into the back of my pickup, got my dog, and we left. I was still so frightened when I got to my home that I opened the outside cellar door, threw the skillet down the steps, grease, bacon, and all. After this incident, however, it changed my life. It scared me so much that we sold the horses and I stayed out of the woods
You
from then
sold her
on.
horses?
Yeah. Like, this person was very scared.
Now, did they ever see or were they just hearing all of this?
They were just hearing this, and I think what really got them was that the trees were shaking, not just one. It didn't seem like just 2, but, like, multiple trees.
Okay, I have some input because when you were telling this, I wasn't thinking Bigfoot. Okay, multiple trees, even if it's like Bigfoot clobbering through, at most it's gonna be just like the ones like closest. Also, the grunting to screeching or to screaming. Does Southern Illinois have a Blair Witch Project situation going on?
You know what,
Because
though?
that's
It
that
might.
like because that's immediately where my brain went. I'm like, that's not Bigfoot. That's the Blair Witch, or that's the witch of the
Yeah,
woods.
it's haunting, that's for sure,
No,
whatever
for
it
sure.
is.
Whatever it is, I mean, yes, I would be terrified. How do you think
Yeah.
you would have reacted in this situation?
I would have been out of there so fast, like,
Yeah.
so fast. I would have left my stuff, like, I don't think I would have packed up.
I probably would have too. I don't know. I have noticed about myself. Thankfully, I haven't ever been in like too many like immediate emergency situations, like true ones, but ones where it's just my anxiety and I think someone's like breaking into my house. I do notice I'm a freezer. I'm not much a flavor. I'll just like completely sit still and it feels like 10 minutes and then I'm like, okay, maybe I should move. So I
Yeah.
don't know. I'd like
Yeah,
to
no,
think
I
I'd run.
totally understand that because I think in a dire situation, emergency, I would also be a freezer, but also I think I might be more of, like, a fawner as well. You know
What's
how
that?
they say now it's fight, flight, freeze, or fawn, which fawn is your body's stress response to try to please someone to avoid conflict.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I can see that.
It's like
Yeah.
those stories of the murderers where the people are just trying to be as nice as possible to them and fake that they're in love with them so that they won't kill them.
I mean, it works. So
Mhm.
you got to do what you got to do to survive. I think that's totally valid.
Yeah. But also, like, finishing this story too, she says, "I'm 63 years old now. I was 23 when it happened, and it stuck with me this whole time."
40.
Mhm. Yeah, and they didn't report this until recently, like, just a few years ago, and then they say, "By the way, there are no mountain lions or bear" oh, here we go. "There are no mountain lions or bears in Southern Illinois. Really, no predator bigger than a bobcat, so what was this? Even if there had been some type of larger predator, what could it have been to have moved so many trees at one time and made that god-awful noise?"
That wasn't a creature. That was a witch. That was the witch of the woods. But
Yeah,
that's
very
terrifying.
possibly.
I don't
Yeah.
know if we're going to be able to get scarier than that, especially like you're alone with your dog. Well, how did the dog react? Did she say?
She said that the dog was shaking violently.
Yeah,
I
no, I'd be
know, the poor
terrified. Like
thing.
if like Junie, because I have a German Shepherd, which I feel like I've talked about her about every episode because she's my fur dog, my fur baby. But if she were shaking violently scared, I'd be losing my shit. Like, I'd be
Yeah.
terrified.
Yeah. There's just no explanation for this one except Bigfoot, and I've been hiking on bluffs in that area before very regularly, and I am so happy that I didn't run into Bigfoot because I would have just died.
Are these the bluffs by Snake Road?
Not by Snake Road, that's a little farther south.
Okay.
These ones are just south of the town where I grew up. It's kind of like along the Mississippi River.
That's interesting.
Do you think you could beat that one?
I don't know. And I'll be honest with you, I kind of skimmed my stories and I was like, yeah, these are a vibe. And so we might be finding out together. But this takes place in 1976 and it takes place in Wisconsin. So we got another 70s, 80s Midwest Bigfoot sighting. It happened approximately 7 miles from Cumberland, Wisconsin, in a rural area. I'm going to begin the observation by the person who submitted this Class A report. This incident happened a long time ago, and I never told too many people about it. I am a 31-year-old Native American, and I was maybe 6 or 7. I am glad to know that there are people like you who take this seriously. So they're writing to the Bigfoot researchers. It was night, and my sister and cousin were playing around the phone. They would dial our number and hang up on the phone so it would ring. They had music playing loud, and we're just playing around. The doorbell rang, and One of us answered the door, but there was no one there. Well, this happened 2 more times. We had a little house dog. We also had a Saint Bernard. And my sister and cousin noticed that the house dog was crouched under a chair in our living room. The last time the doorbell rang, we all went outside and couldn't see no one around. It was maybe a half hour later, my oldest brother went to the refrigerator. The rest of us kids were playing in the hallway when he came running down the hallway with his hands to his face and crying hysterically. He ran in our parents' room and jumped on the bed, landing on his stomach. He was crying pretty bad. We all kept asking him what was wrong, and he finally told us what he saw. He said he saw something peeking around the tree, and he said it was motioning to him to, come out, like a hand gesture, like, "Come towards me."
No.
No, that's when he freaked out. Completely understandable. 8 years old or 80 years old, I would have had the same reaction. After about 15 minutes, he calmed down some, the panicking subsided. There was some knocking at the back door. And the way they were knocking, it was like, "Come open the door now." When we opened the door, a guy who lived a few houses away came in white as a sheet and was shaking pretty bad. He said he broke down a ways from our place, and when he was walking up the road, he heard something walking in the woods with him. He didn't know what it was. He said he was really glad to see our light on. Our parents weren't home, but we ended up calling our uncle, who lived next door. They arrived with minutes with shotguns. God bless the Midwest, I guess.
Mhm.
There were 6 kids at home, and my uncles went to look around. Well, when they opened the back door, our Saint Bernard, let me tell you, for the size of those dogs, that dog would not let the girls out, and he even growled at them. Well, my sister and cousin backed up from the door, and as they did that, the Saint Bernard came running into the house. Some of the kids ran outside. They saw what they maybe thought was a stump, but then the stump moved and turned to
No.
look at them. My cousin said it had red eyes. They came back in right away. She said she saw something, a different one, again, peeking around the garage. She noticed that it had a cone-shaped head and it looked towards the house. They ended up putting us kids to bed, all in one bed, and my sister and I were pretty scared. They were essentially shaking. It was such an intense situation that later, when the night ended, the parents got home, the mother ended up calling a spiritual guide, and he told her that there were probably 3 of those things around the house that night. He also told her that they were looking for a boy to take. He said that one of them may have lost one of their own and came looking for a young boy to replace the one they lost.
Oh, I hate that.
I hate it. There is also footprints in that area, nearby, and it occurred between the hours of 7 and 11 p.m. So this is so amazing. So one cool thing about the BFRO, it does a follow-up investigation report. So this guy submitted this in 2001 to the BFRO. Um, the investigators said that they spoke with the witness the evening of April 17th, 2001, 25 years ago. God, that's crazy. And numerous times since. There is some weird stuff going around in Barron County, Wisconsin, and that could be a Bigfoot trying to abduct little boys?
Kinda sounds like it. At first, I thought maybe it's just a straight up murderer, right? Trying to get
Of
them.
course.
When you said the neighbor came to the door, I was like, well, that's it. Like, the neighbor is gonna murder them, kidnap them. But then he was scared.
That's
Like,
strange, right?
yeah. Ooh. And then they kept seeing the creature, like, peeking around the corner. And the cone head? What's
The
scarier than a
conehead threw
cone
me
head?
the conehead's terrifying, and that's what threw me off, I think, the most. It's like, okay, we got Bigfoot, we got a stump, we got a conehead, huh? I mean, I guess, all Bigfoots might look a little different.
Yeah,
Where
and
does your
again, just like the last story, like, these stories stick with people.
Right. Yeah, that was a reoccurring trend I noticed in the ones I selected as all. It's like they're ones that have happened decades ago, and it still
Yeah.
just can't leave the person's mind.
It reminds me of, like, alien sightings, like, people say, like, it changes them. Have you ever tried searching for Bigfoot at all?
No, but I did see I was gonna share this with you. Somewhere in Michigan, they were doing, like, Bigfoot hunting.
Yeah.
I'm just busy. I don't got time, but it
You're
sounds
right.
fun.
Just looking at the maps, and he's literally in every state. Some states only have, like, 7, some have, like, 400, but he's pretty much in every state.
Yeah.
And you gotta think though, just there's so many. If you cut that in half, like 50% of them, probably a good explanation. That still leaves so many.
Very true. And it is weird, the consistency. I'm excited to see if your next story follows suit and it's similar.
The next story is in a late afternoon winter day in Jackson County, Missouri. A routine birding trip at the James Reed Wildlife Area turned into a 5-minute encounter with a massive, unidentifiable creature. The observation is as follows. While birding the James Reed Wildlife Area in Lee's Summit, Missouri, in the late afternoon of March 8, 2013, I observed in the tree line on the west side of Bodark Lake a large brown hairy creature walking along the edge of the lake. It appeared to be 7 foot tall and had a long stride and arm swing. I observed this creature for 5 minutes, from the parking lot to the lake. I observed this animal with my binoculars. The animal walked into the woods. The area had been cut back, and the brush in the opening was large enough to view. Sorry, these people write their own stories, so it can kind of be a little bit
No, I
choppy.
was kinda having to edit, like, as I spoke a bit too, where it's like it didn't make much sense.
The witness also noted that they did not see any deer on their trip or coyotes, which is unusual in this area. The follow up investigation report reads, I spoke with the witness via phone, quite familiar with the area, as it is 30 miles or less from his home. He is an avid birdwatcher, also a hunter, and has hunted bears and all of the North American game. He is an avid observer of all game and has seen most live in the wild. He insisted that this was, all caps, not a bear, nor a person in a suit. He has been going to the same area since 1965 as a kid and knows it better than the rangers. He saw the creature, quote, looking for something in the woods, end quote. It was walking along the tree line, sometimes leaning in, looking, then it would walk a few more steps and repeat the process. It was walking in a straight line, a line like the police would ask you to walk doing a sobriety test. 1 foot in front of the other, very long arms, longer than humans by quite a bit. There was an arm swing, though it was not exaggerated, and it was a slow, unhurried walk. The creature did not see him. As he watched the creature for a few minutes, he reached for his spotting scope, but by then the creature had disappeared into the woods. It was described as very large, at least 7 feet tall, brown, hairy, and not fur, more hair. He did not see any great detail because the sun was in his eyes, creating a backlit effect. This would be one of my better observational witnesses, as he is a trained observer of nature since 1965. He knows what he saw, and he knows what he didn't see. He was to the point and very clear. It was what it was. And what I think is interesting about this one is that he had binoculars, and he was looking at this creature.
I agree. I inherently trusted him because he was a birder, and I'm like, "I could trust them." But to add on a whole nother level, if they're a hunter, I really think that, further these evidences, they probably know what they're talking about, especially if, they hunt, they're familiar with the game, they know what a bear, they know what a deer, etcetera, look like. That's really interesting.
So a part of me is thinking, like, okay, there was that backlit effect by the sun, but even whenever you're bird watching and the sun is kind of in your eyes, you can still see the shape of the bird, general shape, and you can often guess what it is by just the shape. If you see something walking on two legs, swinging their arms, you're gonna see that it's not a bear or a coyote or a
Yeah.
deer, something like that.
Silhouette's different, yeah.
Yeah.
One thing that confused me was the it wasn't fur, it was hair.
Yeah, it must have been, I
'Cause
mean,
he
yeah,
must
like
have been able to see well
primates
enough.
have fine hair, not fur, right? I mean, if Bigfoot is a primate of some kind. So, yeah. And this person that took the investigation report seems very convinced by this person.
Yeah, I always love when they're convinced because there's plenty of ones where they're like, "Meh, this doesn't seem legit."
Mhm.
So, this next story takes place in the fall of 1987 in early October. It's in Pennsylvania in a rural area where there's essentially farm fields and, oh, what do you know, a state prison ground on the left side to where they're at. A man and some friends are driving around in their car. Just out for a late night cruise, killing time and listening to music. I'm going to jump into now what those in that car witnessed on that fateful October night. There was an old apple orchard on the property to our left that had been part of the prison grounds in this vicinity. There was no traffic, no houses to speak of on this road. I was looking out the passenger side window at the lights of the houses that I could make up on the ridge on Siebert Road when the guy driving slammed on the brakes and said, "WTF is that?" I looked out the windshield to see an I mean enormous, creature stepping out of the brush from the right side of the road right in front of us. It was huge. I remember feeling like I was looking up at it more than directly at it. Its arms and chest were just huge. It had a face kind of like something between a gorilla and a man. It looked right at us as it had stepped out in front of us, maybe 40 feet away at most. I remember saying, "What the hell is that?" It immediately took a couple of strides and covered the distance of the road and onto the grass berm and just stepped right over a barbed wire fence like it was nothing. The whole thing happened so damn fast, we couldn't process what the heck we just saw. It was huge, broad chest, massive legs, hairy, like dark brownish colored, but its face was kind of gray. It was making strides. I remember seeing that its left leg was planted, but the right leg was leading its stride when my eyes caught the thing. It was just there, and then it wasn't. It was moving fast, but it wasn't running, and it was bipedal on 2 feet. It was absolutely not a bear or a deer, as it must have been over 7 feet tall. Its chest was so high up, it was kind of out of the direct beams of the headlights on the car. And then he just continues to go on and on about how big and muscular this guy is. He's just as enamored with this Bigfoot as we were confused and intrigued by the dog man with all his muscles.
Exactly. I mean, if there's some kind of weird cryptid with muscles and it's like he's got abs and like pecs, that's confusing, you know? You're gonna look.
Exactly. And 2 other people were in that car with him and observed the same creature. And for his "also noticed" section, he put, "Nothing. We didn't go back and look. We just got to town quickly." So this was further follow-up investigated by BFRO investigator Benjamin C. Apparently, this report was of great interest to the organization because shortly after this publication, the BFRO received 2 separate reports within a week of each other of the same area. They had very credible, similar sightings, and they were within a short time of one another. So, after speaking with these 2 different reporters, the investigator shared their contact information with each other so they could meet up after the events they experienced 40 years ago to chat and mingle over their trauma of seeing Bigfoot.
My gosh.
That's cute. That could be a meet
That is
cute.
cute.
Now that is potentially a romantic comedy. Honestly, I don't know. I'm not a romantic comedy gal, but that's intriguing. A meet cute where they both, like, think they saw Bigfoot and then they fall in love. That's
I would love
fun.
to see a
That's fun.
romantic comedy based on Bigfoot sightings. I would love that.
And there isn't nothing like that, I would say. I
In my
like that.
head, I immediately go to Drew Barrymore, Adam Sandler.
Perfect combo.
Perfect
Perfect.
combo. Love it. But what I really like about that story is it really puts you there. Like, you can almost imagine if that was me, that is how everybody would react. And just that image of that creature, Bigfoot, like, coming out like that, that would stick with you. Like, I can imagine you're trying to get to sleep and you're just thinking, like, what the hell was that? What did I
Totally.
see? Was that really Bigfoot? Or am I freaking crazy? Shared
Right.
delusion with other
Exactly.
people.
I would be so glad that there were other people in the car with me to, like,
Yeah.
also see and witness that, and he ended the encounter on saying that, the Bigfoot, or the creature believed to be Bigfoot, looked pissed that they had interrupted whatever he was on the way to do.
It's even scarier. You know what, though? People never describe Bigfoot's face, I feel like. Like, they say his
No,
eyes, but, like, what about his nose and his mouth?
I don't know. So they described it, in this report that it had the face of something between a gorilla and a man.
Which, that makes
It's kind of
sense.
accurate, at least per the pop culture idea of Bigfoot.
Yeah, you're right. I just wonder if what would Bigfoot eat? Is he an herbivore? You know?
I feel like he would. I feel like he is a herbivore because I feel that we would be hearing more about, like, farm animals being slaughtered, injury and death to people, because,
Mhm.
like you were saying, there are so many Bigfoot sightings, but have you ever heard of, or even on a mass scale or on a larger scale, of him hurting or killing somebody?
They never make contact.
They seem pretty chill, like, they just kinda mind their business and eat leaves, like, I don't know.
Yeah, maybe they're opportunistic carnivores. I can see that.
I can vouch for that, yeah. Well, I can't vouch, but I agree with that.
Yeah, but yeah, that's bizarre. I just wanna know all the natural history of Bigfoot.
Right.
So does everyone else.
Right.
Right, that's a
Exactly.
good one. Are you ready for my number 3?
Yes.
All right, my third sighting. Here's the account of what happened. I have never told anyone of this other than at the time it happened, I told my wife. I had been stalked out of the woods by something large, and I packed my family up, leaving the area immediately. In 2003, my wife and I took our daughter and youngest son with our travel trailer to camp at Yatesville Lake State Park in Lawrence County, Kentucky, near Blaine. We arrived on a Friday in August with the intent on fishing, and I always go ginseng hunting, which is a type of plant. I looked that up. I think it should be noted that I am an avid outdoorsman and have hunted, fished, hiked, and camped in at least 28 states of the USA for 40 plus years. I am also acquainted with big game animals, including bears, mountain lions, elk, deer, and wild hogs. I stake my reputation on my word and kept this encounter to myself all these years. On Saturday morning, I took my family to fish in the lake. After my family was set up, I took off into the mountain on the southwest side of a bridge to hunt the ginseng. As I had worked my way up a long deep hollow and neared the top of the ridge, and to my left, I heard knocking, like someone striking a piece of wood against a tree. I also had several rocks come through the trees from the top of a small cliff at the top of the ridge, but I thought they'd fallen off the rock formations on their own. Then, as I happened to look back behind me from the hollow I came out of on the far side of that ridge, I saw a very large, dark haired, covered figure that was watching me, and it was standing upright. It definitely was not a bear. I estimated later that it was 8 feet tall. I'm also a carpenter and pretty good at measurements. And as silly as it sounds, when it left my sight, I spoke aloud to this thing and said, "Old one, I mean no harm, and I'm only taking what I need," all the while easing my way back around and down toward my family. Once I was out of eyesight, I took off down the mountain as fast as I could. I could hear this Bigfoot following at a distance. Once I got to my family, I told my wife to get everything gathered up and pack the family out of the area, telling them that there was a bear stalking me so we could get off the mountain as fast as possible. It was not a bear, but I didn't want to tell them it was Bigfoot. I guess I'm only reporting this now because of the other sightings in the area around the same time. The BFRO is welcome to contact me, and I would be willing to travel back to that exact spot and show where this occurred, even though it was over 8 years ago. The follow up investigation report states, I spoke to the witness by telephone, and he had the following things to add to the story. During the event, the witness was close enough to see 2 eyes, a nose, and fingers on its hands. The Sasquatch was covered in dark brown to reddish hair. Its face was lightly covered in hair, and he could also see a beard. As he was taking this in, the Sasquatch eased behind the trees and disappeared from sight. The witness did not hear it leave and could still feel its presence. The witness was overcome with a feeling that he shouldn't be there. That is when he felt it necessary to calmly talk to what he saw and quickly leave. He tried not to make eye contact out of fear and not knowing what the Sasquatch would do next. As he went away and back down the ridge, he heard it following him, making loud, crunching steps and breaking sticks as it followed. Some more rocks were thrown at him on this way down the mountain. The witness was not followed all the way down to his family, but he felt that he was being watched the entire time. A year later, he returned to the ridge and found the spot. Using a measuring tape and a tree branch for comparison, he measured the height to be 8 foot 6 inches tall.
That's cool. I trust a carpenter. Like, yeah, they should be good at measurements. So that
Yeah,
makes sense.
and he went back and measured it. That's awesome. Got to get the exact measurements for science.
Exactly. I like that. And I like that he told his family, like, it was a bear, let's go. Because if my family told me, oh, it was Bigfoot, I'd be like, stop. I'd ignore them, right? Instead.
Yeah. Like, it would be really scary if your dad came, like, in all seriousness, like, "You guys, we have to go, Bigfoot's out there," like, serious. Like, at first you'd think they were joking, right? But it's like, "Oh my god, he's serious, like, Bigfoot's out there." That would it's better to think of a bear.
That's true. How long would it take you to believe that they were serious if they said it was Bigfoot? Because
I
I feel
think
like
you could probably see the fear in their eyes, you know? And, like, if they started packing up, it's like, "Oh god, yeah, we gotta go," you know?
true, true. I feel like it would take some convincing from
Really.
me. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they'd be pranking me.
Yeah. You know what, though? I've recently realized that I am gullible. So,
Well,
I would fall for it quickly.
so this is my last one I have, it looks like. But this one actually um has a little bit of nature involving the unique ecosystem and how it's possibly the reason why this is a Bigfoot hotspot. We're going back to Wisconsin. Unlike my other stories, this one actually took place just in September of last year in Walworth County at Kettle Moraine Oak Opening, which is an officially DNR listed natural area. Which leads me to believe that maybe the story I'm telling, the witnesses might not have been doing something super legal while there if it's a DNR spot. So let's jump in. It starts, it's a weeknight around 9 o'clock. Two good friends who are 19-year-olds, so young and dumb, are driving around looking to get into some ruckus. They pull up into a little dirt parking lot in this oak opening area and they decide light off fireworks. So I'm going to jump into the witness's report. When we parked the truck, my friend who is sitting in the passenger seat next to me looks over and says, "Man, I don't know if we should be here. I feel like we're being watched." I felt the same way deep down, but I told him, "Nah, dude, let's go. We'll be fine."
My gosh, I love this.
So we got out of the truck and got out the rockets we brought to shoot around on the road to have some harmless fun. We set the bag of fireworks on the driver's side seat and left the door open on that side so the lights of the inside of the truck would shine on them so we could see what we were doing. It was very dark out there, and the only light we had was the interior lights shining on the seat. We shot bottle rockets off for a good 20 minutes when it all happened. I was standing next to my friend, grabbing more fireworks off the driver's side seat. I finished grabbing what I needed and went towards the back of the truck from the driver's side door to shoot them off by the road. As I was walking back, I heard something walking in the grass across the street from me, or from us. I looked up and saw a large, white and grayish black shape moving. My eyes weren't adjusted yet because I was by the light in the truck. I tried to reason. It was a deer or something. But why would a white deer approach two guys shooting off bottle rockets, making a ton of noise? That's valid because I feel like deer are pretty skittish. Even the ones in natural areas that might be more used to people, they're not going to come towards fireworks, right? I feel like fireworks are
Absolutely not.
scary, disturbing, the animals in that area.
But something with a little bit more intelligence might come check it out.
Right, they're like, "I want some." I looked at it, and I saw a leg step out on the road across the street from me, an almost human-looking leg. Then I saw a large object start walking on the street from the left until it was right across from me. While this was happening, I was trying to figure out what it was because I couldn't make it out because of the darkness. Finally, it stopped walking and was just staring at me. My eyes started to adjust, and I saw a very, very large, upright figure with white and blackish gray hair. I immediately reached back and grabbed my friend and pointed at the figure and yelled, "What's that thing?" My friend looked over at it, but his eyes weren't adjusted, but he did see the top of the head and shoulders. It started to walk towards me slowly, almost in an intimidating manner, approaching me without an ounce of fear. As it approached me and my friend, it made it to the dirt parking lot we were parked at, and that's when my cargo light on my truck lit it up. It had been around 7.5 to 8 feet tall. It looked like it was aging as it had white and gray hair mixing with its black hair. The creature was very muscular and just unbelievably massive. The thing's face was blackish and almost oily looking. It had black eyes and a slit for the mouth, and I could make out a nose just barely. Once I saw how close it was to us and how it was still approaching, I stopped reaching for my phone camera and just told my friend, "Get in the truck." And as I said this, I jumped into the driver's side and started the truck up. As I got in, I saw my friend practically diving over the hood of my truck, trying to get to the passenger door. This friend was going to leave his friend if he didn't get in time. Once he got into the truck, I slammed that gas pedal down and went into reverse towards the thing, and it managed to jump out of the way before I hit it. We took off down the road at high speeds. Later, they went back with his brother and his dad with a high powered flashlight looking for signs of it, and they found nothing. The next morning, his friend and him returned looking for tracks. They actually found spots in the grass where it was pressed down from the animal's weight. To conclude, I think this thing was watching us as my loud 90s Chevy pickup was coming down the road and into the parking spot. It probably got sick of us shooting fireworks off and just got out of the ditch and walked over in an attempt to intimidate and scare us with its sheer mass. And it worked.
Oh my gosh, it was almost like being territorial, it seems like. Like, hey, you need to
Yeah.
stop,
Like, it's my bedtime. This is rude. This is a DNR listed natural area preserve. Leave.
respect the wildlife.
Hey.
My gosh, that one's scary.
Right, specifically like you need to leave. It wasn't just observing, it was walking towards them. It wasn't scared of a altercation or interaction.
Yeah, and he got a really good description of it, and I thought it was really interesting that he said it had some, like, white fur on it, because my next story, the Bigfoot has white fur on it too.
That's interesting. We
So,
have some
yeah.
aging Bigfoot. And yeah, he had actually reported this to the BFRO the very next day after his dad and them and his friend had come back and looked. And
Mhm.
apparently, many other anomalous activities have happened in that area, such as whistles, rocks getting thrown, angry growls, and howls. Wow. So there were actually investigators from the BFRO meeting on site with the witnesses. Measurements were made and double checked as directed by the witnesses, and they continue to investigate the area. But they're both confident, there's two investigators on this, that the witnesses are credible reporters of this event. Yeah, so they're thinking with the measurements they made out, about 7.5 feet tall and 3 feet wide at the shoulders. Shockingly, apparently the head was gently cone-shaped, a cone-shaped
Interesting.
head.
Huh.
Okay, so I guess our monkeys' heads, if we're thinking monkey-esque, I guess Bigfoot's head is kind of cone-shaped. I'll be honest,
Yeah.
when you're saying cone head, I'm thinking of cone head.
Me too. I was thinking, like, giant,
Yeah, the giant cone
pointy.
head, but yeah, so I guess we're kind of wrong in and of that self, but it's actually interesting because it shows there's then goes on in this report to be a bunch of photos of the very unique fauna of this area. It's a high area that's very attractive for deer, which I am assuming they think Bigfoot or big feet, I don't know what's the plural, tend to eat. Apparently, this is an ancient ecosystem in Wisconsin with large bur oaks and abundant area of plant and tree diversity. So it's no wonder that they think that Bigfoots would prefer this area. Honestly, it's gorgeous. It's full of old oak trees, and apparently they hypothesize that Bigfoots will climb into these big trees for a better view, and they'll be nearly impossible to spot from a distance because their fur or hair provides such a good fit camouflage with the tree bark.
This final story goes deep within the private woodlands of Guernsey County, Ohio, during a 1996 hunting expedition that led to a sighting of a creature that defied explanation. Just past dusk, while with my hunting partner, we were camped up on the hill above a ravine we bow hunt every year. I went to take a leak on the porta potty we had set up 100 feet away from the campsite. While sitting there with the glare of the campfire in sight, I noticed a really stinky smell coming from behind me, and it wasn't my poop. I like that he mentioned that.
Love the clarification.
Yeah. I stood up and turned around to see an animal standing there a short distance away staring at me. I looked at this thing in amazement. It was leaning on one foot, just looking right at me. I was totally terrified. It was white in color, it had dark brown skin, and an apparent rounded head. Wouldn't you know? This is so bizarre. It had really deep sunken eyes. Although it was about my height, 6'2", it was very wide at the shoulders. I would have to say it was 3.5 to 4 feet wide, which made its waist look thin in comparison. Since I had a shovel to bury my waist, I screamed at the creature and waved the shovel in the air. Once I did this, it sprinted into the woods, down into the ravine at an alarming pace. I could hear it bursting branches as it left the area. My friend came running over, wondering what was wrong. I told him what had just happened, but he just wouldn't believe me. That was until the next day, when we went right to that location and found large tracks going down into the ravine. The tracks were much bigger, especially width-wise, than my size 13 hunting boots. I think after seeing them, he was somewhat convinced I had seen something very unusual. And the other thing I noticed was that its hair color looked dirtier below the waist. When the property owner found out what I saw, he asked that we didn't hurt them. They meant no harm, which meant they knew they were around. One of the property owners admitted seeing a similar colored creature. The follow up investigation report reads, I've talked to this witness multiple times, and his story has been consistent year after year. He noted that the creature was only about 20 feet away when he saw it. Its face appeared to be dark in color, and no neck was visible. The overall bulk of this creature is what impressed him the most. He estimated it had to weigh about 350 pounds or more. The area has a good sized stream that flows through the ravine. There is a good sized cave that he has seen from a distance, but has never had the courage to check out. He believes this is where it could live. This area has a long history of Bigfoot reports and strange sound reports. It's an area that warrants further investigation. So, Bigfoot just watching this guy pee? Poop? I don't know.
I mean, what else does Bigfoot have to do, I guess? I
And
mean,
maybe they're observing us, you know?
right, exactly. And I do like that they found tracks because is that the first or only story we had tonight that had tracks?
I think it is. Yeah.
That's cool. When you said that tracks, it like That's So Raven, Zhu, but instead of into the future, it was into the past, reminded me of, and I know it can't be Bigfoot tracks, but I will explain it in the vision of my like 6-year-old brain. There was a creek by my house. And when you're thinking creek, you might think this like nice woodland area. It's serene, it's nice. I grew up in the suburbs of Detroit. So it was actually a creek behind like this apartment complex, like 3 blocks from my house. And it was like filled with litter and empty shopping carts, that sort of thing. Anywho, my older brother takes us there, and we're walking, and we see this giant footprint. I swear it was at least, like, 14 inches big. It was like a Bigfoot footprint.
Was it like of a shoe or did it have toes?
No, it had toes. I'm trying to
That is
draw.
so weird. Okay, but also, if it's not Bigfoot, that's kind of even weirder.
My brother nonchalantly was just like, "Oh, this is Bigfoot." I swear to God, it looked like that. I
Did you see an
swear.
elephant?
I don't know. But I swear, and I remember stepping my foot inside of that foot. It was big as hell. So I don't know. I thought on it.
You
I
know
try to
what,
do my own
though?
investigating.
You never know. And this has stuck with you this whole time. I think you should call them. Make your own report.
I will. I can go back. I know exactly where that creek's at. I can do some investigating. I mean, there is like a few trees. It's just like four
Mhm.
trees on each side of a creek, and the rest of it's like apartments and abandoned buildings.
Thinking
But
on
yeah.
this, though, like the people who take these reports, I can just imagine these are normal people. They have a full time job, they do this on the side. Like, this is what they're into. Like, this is their hobby, tracking Bigfoot, hearing people's stories, going to the places where he was seen. I love it.
I love that too. That's a really cool hobby to have. If I met those, I would just have an endless amount of questions. I'm fascinated.
Because, I mean, at that point, you're also going into it like you truly believe. Do you believe in Bigfoot? Like, do you go yes, no, maybe?
I'm a strong maybe. I don't know. It's hard, right? Because like I feel like we're scientific people, but it's also there's so many sightings of these unexplained creatures that do tend to be pretty similar. But at the same time, we've worked in the conservation field and like all the research done to like identify species. How could one be this elusive but this not elusive at the same time? Like it's just weird.
Yeah, I agree, especially with so many bird watchers, like, and
Yeah.
phones. Like, no one's gotten a picture. No one's gotten a video that's not grainy.
Yeah, but I'd like to believe. That'd be cool, and I do appreciate how the BFRO, they do, categorize the reports by classes because it shows some like elimination criteria and really trying to make sure they're doing just reputable encounters only.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm in the same boat. I'm a hard maybe. And I do really want to believe Bigfoot is out there because just the thought of having such a large animal out there that we haven't discovered yet, it's fantastic. It's
It
amazing.
is. I will say, if Bigfoot is real and is out there, he's smarter than we are, or they're smarter than we are, don't you
It has
think?
to be.
Because
Yeah.
to evade, like, detection like this,
It
it's
kind of
interesting.
reminds me of when we were doing our Mammoth Cave episode and we were talking about how there could be like ancient civilizations in these caves. Like, I kind of wish that was Bigfoot. Like, we just find a cave that we never knew existed, and it has a whole underground system with culture, whole population of Bigfoots, big feet.
That'd be really cool, and that would make sense for them to be, like, hiding out in a cave and that sort of thing, because with the drone footages, with I don't know, with everything they have these days, it's like, how are they not being captured? Are they, like, living underground? Is that what we're missing?
Because there's even, like, the heat sensors too that people can use.
Exactly, which yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Unless, they can change their temperature to blend in somehow. I don't know, not likely, but still.
Full circle, big feet aren't some sort of animal cryptid we haven't discovered yet, they're aliens.
I'll take it one step further, Marissa.
Okay.
Big Bigfoot is actually an interdimensional traveler, and they are just coming to visit us
I like that
every now and
idea.
then.
And I like that because that's like, okay, yeah, the reason why we don't know their natural history, we haven't fully caught them is because they don't live here full time. I like that. I agree with it. I forgot interdimensional travel was a thing. So
Honestly, to me, that's, like, the only explanation.
that makes sense. I'm
But I
here for
also
it.
like the alien idea, but what would be their mode of transportation?
Teleportation?
I mean, that's the only explanation,
It has
is
to
that
be.
they are just popping into areas.
And that's actually kind of accurate to how people see them too. They like come in and out of nowhere. They're just causing a ruckus. They're like, you know what? I've watched all my reality TV shows. I'm caught up on my favorite sitcom reruns. Let me just pop in, scare some kids, get it reported on the BRFO. It'll be fun to read later.
Mhm. It kind of reminds me of how, like, if I had one wish, I would go see the dinosaurs, right?
Yeah,
But what if an ancient primate animal had one wish? They wanna go see the future, so they use their little time machine to come see
that's
us, and they're
true.
just
That's
observing
true.
us, and then they're like, "Okay, whatever, on to the next spot, or I'm going back." It's crazy,
I feel
obviously,
like we're
but
bringing up a lot of good theories that I have not heard before.
you know what, though? That's what we should have done. We should have actually looked up more theories on Bigfoot, and one day we'll have to do a deep dive on that.
We'll have to. I mean, there's so much Bigfoot stuff. We could do
Yeah.
multiple episodes. So, yes, we will have to revisit the theories of Bigfoot and dispelling fact from fiction.
Yeah, and we'll do more episodes too, just like this with more stories.
Yeah, that'd be
It'll
fun.
be fun.
Sweet.
So, do we want to do a scare scale? How scared would you be if you saw a Bigfoot creature? Like, on a scale of 1 to 10, 1 being doesn't phase you, 5, like, oh, something you can laugh about, tell your friends, it's a cool story, and 10, like, it shocks you, you're out of there, and you have to go to therapy because of it. And you are recounting the story still 45 years later.
Generally, a 4.
No way, really?
Yeah, because I feel like they're always friendly besides those, like, kids that were, no offense, just being young kids and, like, being kinda silly and lighting off fireworks where they shouldn't have been. They were pretty chill and standoffish, and I would just be so excited to have a fun story to tell.
That is true. But I feel like in that moment, you don't know if Bigfoot is gonna hurt you, and I'll be honest, whenever you were saying that story in particular, I was thinking, these stories, Bigfoot is not hurting people, never making contact, but how many people have gone missing in the woods with no explanation?
Is missing 411 or whatever that, like, whole phenomena is it just Bigfoot killing or eating people?
And we would never
God.
know.
Yeah, we wouldn't. You're onto something.
And for that reason, it would be an 8 or 9 for me, probably
Okay.
more leaning towards a 9. I think I would be just so shocked.
Wow, okay.
and I would think about it nonstop for the rest of my life.
Well, thank you everyone for joining us this week on Nature Obscura. We hope you enjoyed this kind of different formatted episode. Make sure to follow us and leave us a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. And if you have any Bigfoot encounters, email them to us.
Yeah, we'd love to hear them, and if you do have Bigfoot encounters, you should report them to.
BFRO.net, Bigfoot Field Research Organization.
Yeah, thanks everyone for listening, and stay obscure, Earthlings.
Transmission ending.